Hey there, folks. It's me again. I know things look a little odd today. A few days ago, I got outbid on a Steve Urkel lunchbox on eBay. I was trying to let it go, but I really want that goddamn lunchbox. I tracked down the guy's eBay handle, and I got my little friend here. He was supposed to be home, but I guess he's stuck in traffic or something. So I am just waiting to give him a little surprise visit when he gets here. Since he's taking a sweet time, I thought maybe I would talk to you guys about family matters today. Since, oddly enough, I am still waiting on that Steve Urkel lunchbox. Getting warm in this thing. Hold on a second. Give me a second to take it off here. Okay. So, Family Matters is, it's the show that Steve Urkel hails from. It's not a particularly remarkable show by any means, at least until he shows up. It was originally pitched as a blue-collar Cosby show, but it wasn't doing all that well, and when they introduced Steve Urkel, he was just supposed to be a guest character. He blew the hell up and became a phenomenon. He's on par with Freddy Krueger when it comes to fictional characters. They slapped his face on literally everything. And if you don't know Family Matters, you know him, at the very least. The show did several Halloween specials. They varied in quality, but the last two that they did were, well, they're going to be my main focus today. I'm going to touch on the other ones, but they just aren't that interesting. One of them involved Richie, the stupid little kid character. He was dressed like Spider-Man for Halloween, and Eddie took him out trick-or-treating and accidentally swapped him with a different Spider-Man kid. Obviously, that worked out. There was another one that was actually pretty interesting, where Steve and Laura went to the bank and like to pick up something for a Halloween party, and it ended up getting robbed while they were there. Steve had a very elaborate fantasy where he was dressed like Superman and he beat up the robber. They did one other one that was actually half decent. It was focused on the Winslows sitting around the house on Halloween because it was pouring rain, and they were telling a vampire story, like trading it off. It was actually pretty entertaining. But my main focus today is probably the most disturbing thing that they ever did on the show. More disturbing than the neutron bomb, more disturbing than Myrtle Urkel. I'm talking, of course, about Stevel. Yes, Stevel. He was an evil ventriloquist dummy that they introduced onto the show. And thank God it was in the main character thing. He was only on for Halloween episodes. But they liked him so much, they showed him fucking twice. These episodes are extreme when it comes to Family Matters. Like, at the beginning of the Stevel episode, there's actually a disclaimer with Steve Urkel sitting there, just surrounded by candles in the living room, actually saying, hey, tonight's episode, it's going to be pretty scary. You're going to want to watch it with somebody brave. And the episode starts off innocently enough. It's Halloween. Steve has a ventriloquist dummy that looks just like him. It's really, it's unsettling how much it looks like him. They didn't really spend a shortage of cash on it. He looks great. But the thing is, Urkel makes a really shitty ventriloquist. Lips are flapping like crazy. He's garbage at it. But, I thought I heard someone outside. It's probably just the neighbor. Very nice old lady. Had the spare key. I just said I was the cable guy. She let me right in. So, a little wink and a smile goes a long way. But, anyway. So he wants to figure out how to make the dummy talk on its own. And he leaves the room. Lightning comes in through the window. Someone's fighting out there. Anyway, lightning comes through the window and brings Stevel to life. And he's got this really deep, demonic Freddy Krueger voice. And so he goes and he talks to Steve, and Steve refuses. He just doesn't want to admit that the dummy's alive and following him around the house and talking to him now. And he locks him up. Like, he locks him up in a chest, and he cuts his way out of it. And it's insane, because ordinarily if he's just standing there talking, it's the dummy. But if he's up and moving around, it's very clearly a little person in a costume. But it's still a really creepy effect. Especially because the first time you really see him move is because he's hopping up off the couch and walking up to Steve. And it's even though it's clearly a kid in a costume, it's actually a very good effect. And it's played really well again when he crawls in through the bedroom window. The studio audience, or canned laughter, whatever it is, they're going crazy. They're screaming their heads off about it. Stevel decides that he wants to make it an act and take it on the road. What he ends up doing is he decides that the Winslow family is in the way. And obviously the only way to deal with them is to get rid of them. He's chasing down Richie in a car, and he ends up stuck in the bedroom wall. He pulls Eddie up in the chimney. Laura ends up dismembered in the kitchen cabinets. And Harriet, the bitchy mom on the show, she gets decapitated and put in a jack-in-the-box. Now, they're all portrayed as still alive, but the implications are clear that they are pretty destroyed. And Carl, good old Carl, he is made into a ventriloquist dummy. And even after Steve rips Stevel apart, he pulls himself back together, starts to strangle him. Luckily, it's revealed that this is all just a nightmare that Steve is having. And it's, everything's okay. That's what it's trying to show. And at the end of this episode, they actually made a point to show, a making of for it. It's like, hey, don't worry. Everyone's alright. No one's dead. But it's still pretty traumatic. And it doesn't help that the next year they made Stevel 2. This time he's not alone. And it's kind of creepy at this point. Carl, who's, a police officer, he comes home after a Halloween party at the precinct. And he goes upstairs to take a nap. It starts off right off the bat that it's a nightmare. But he goes upstairs and he has his own nightmare about Stevel, where he comes downstairs and there's a present for him down there. He opens it and it's a bizarrely accurate Carl ventriloquist dummy. And Steve's freaking out, telling him to get away from it. But, it's all in fun. That's until the front door blows open and Stevel storms in and shoots him with green lightning and brings him to life. And this dummy is called Carlsbad, after the town in Mexico. There's a weird dance sequence where they want to go to Vegas and start a show, but they need human souls to do it. And obviously they're going to get that from Carl and Steve. It's disturbing, because they're trying to pull their souls out through their eyes. And, it's Family Matters, it's a family sitcom on TGIF, but they actually had the balls to go and do a soul-stealing storyline with evil ventriloquist dummies. And, that was in season 9 that they did, the one with Carlsbad. And, they actually had plans for a season 10 episode called Bride of Stevel, which was going to involve an evil Laura puppet. But that never ended up materializing. As far as TGIF Halloween specials go, it's definitely up there. Now, I would have talked about And Then There Was Sean from Boy Meets World, but I actually didn't see the episode till I was an adult. But, anyway. from my childhood standpoint, Stevel takes the cake when it comes to scary shit that they put on ABC. It's, oh, it's really fucking creepy. It's well done. The score is surprisingly eerie and atmospheric. Plus, you know, it was right around the time that Goosebumps was starting to catch on, so Night of the Living Dummy was a thing. Chucky was still pretty big. So the idea of an evil ventriloquist dummy coming after the main characters was actually pretty effective. And, yeah, no, definitely, if you get the chance, find Stevel and Stevel 2, This Time He's Not Alone. They're great episodes. They're fantastic for Halloween, I would have to say. For a really shitty sitcom, these two episodes in particular come highly recommended. As soon as this motherfucker gets home and we take care of our business, I'm hoping to get started on tomorrow's video, where I'm going to be talking about the South Park Halloween specials. Particularly the first one that they did, which was called Pink Eye. So, if I'm not in jail, I'll see you guys tomorrow.